So I was recently watching Alan Titmarch and I was completely distracted by his beautiful garden in the background, and it reminded me about something that I am missing in my garden. So a lot of English gardens have this beautiful billowing flowers and free-flowing form, and it is surrounded by a really strong structure, whether it be a topiary, whether it be a hedge, or just some sort of shrub pruned into a very tight shape form, whether it be a sphere, a cone, cylinder, what have you. And I want to start incorporating a little bit more of that and be a little bit more diligent in my garden in terms of maintaining that. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways of doing that. I have these yews here, which I had always intended on turning them into more spherical forms, but I needed them to put on a little bit of growth. So I can start doing that now. These have been here for about 3 to 4 years now. So they've put on enough growth where I can really start shaping them a little bit more. Plus, these get a lot more shade down here and are protected. Plus, we have another week of maybe in the low 80s. So I'm not too concerned about pruning these at this time of year. You do want to be careful in terms of what time of year you're pruning them, because pruning promotes further growth. And if you prune when it's really, really hot or about to get really, really cold, you could either scorch the brand new growth or completely burn it off and have tip die back. So just be mindful of that. But I think based off the weather forecast and where these are situated, these are perfectly fine. I also have a lot of boxwoods that have been pruned into spheres that have gotten a bit woolly that I need to get under control, so I can go ahead and do that. And then, as always, I've also purchased a couple of other items that I'm going to add in to help create that nice cylinder effect, because I have a lot of spheres going on in my garden, but I don't have anything that is a tall cylinder. So let's start by pruning these yews. All right, so when starting to try to prune something into a topiary form, it would be really unrealistic to think that you can just prune it into the perfect shape on the first go. It takes a while to get it into the shape that you want it to. So you just want to start forming it into, for me, it's going to be that sphere shape. So I like to do it by using my hands. I don't like to use electric trimmers. I feel like I have a little bit more control. So I go in and I start using these small Fiskars pruners, and then I come in and I use these Barnell pruners. I love these. These have been fantastic for me. And I go slow, because remember, you can always take more off, but you can't put anything back on. So I snip, I step back, I snip, I step back, and that's the entire process as I go down the entire row. All right, so that is how we are going to leave it. So there was quite a bit that was taken off, but because of how hardy this is, this should do just fine. And then we're gonna let things grow in. Now, as things grow in, that's going to hide some of these sharp cuts that I had to make in some of the older branches. All right, so let's move on to the rest of them. All right, so these are looking a lot better and are giving a much stronger structure, and hopefully they are going to fill in nicely. I just need to make sure to keep up with them as they continue to fill in, and make sure that I am continuing to prune them into that nice spherical form that I want them to become. All right, now this one right here is a golden mop false cypress. These are very, very common in our area here in northern New Jersey. And I had a while ago pruned this up into a little bit of a tree because I wanted it to be something with a little bit more added interest. It is a great way to take something that is very ordinary and very common and make it a little bit more interesting. However, what I didn't do is upkeep on making sure to keep this in that tight spherical form, and that's what I'm gonna go ahead and trim it back to right now, so you can actually see that it's supposed to be mimic a little small tree, almost like a bonsai. Now this juniper right here has been pruned into more of a spiral form. That's a bit more interest than your typical spheres and your typical cones. Just another way to prune it, but clearly I've let it get very woolly and overgrown, so it's lost its shape. So let's prune it back into the shape that it's supposed to be. And it's actually quite meditative to do this. Minus the bugs and the gnats that are trying to get at you all the time. Oh, a little grasshopper. Now, many don't want to add even more work into their garden by having to maintain something like a topiary. And that's where something like a gold cone juniper comes into place, because this will grow into a gorgeous, tightly formed cone shape on its own, and it benefits from you actually not touching it. So you actually cannot prune these at all. So just to give you some facts on it, these get about 6 to 9 feet tall and stay 2 to 3 feet wide. So they're perfect to put into really narrow spaces in your bed, which is actually what I had seen in Alan Titmarsh's bed, where they were pruned into a nice tight form. Now those were obviously pruned. You can see on them that they were pruned. These are hardy from zones 5 to 7, so there is not a very large growth zone here, but they add a really nice interest into the garden. They're actually grown for the colors that they have, because the inside of the needles are this really pretty blue color, and they grow on the outside into this gold color, which is where it gets its name from, the gold cone juniper. These are rather young and they look rather woolly right now, but the important thing is not to touch them. If you start touching them and shaping them, you're just going to completely ruin the natural shape that it's going to form into, which, like I said, is going to be that nice tight cone form as it gets a little bit older. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is layering these into the front of the bed, which is a little bit different than our normal way of thinking, because we typically think taller things go in the back and then they gradually become shorter as they move into the front. Now, like I said, as I was watching Alan's video, he had his, no, it wasn't a hedge, but he had his dotted along the front of the border as an interesting way to add and define that border further a little bit more. And it really created a lot of interest because you could see they were short enough and narrow enough where you could see past it. And I think that that's what this is going to do. They're nice and narrow, so you can still see past further into the bed. So I'm thinking that I'm going to not fully line it, but just have them more towards the front of the bed rather than in the back of the bed, just to bring that added interest into it. So even though this juniper is drought tolerant, it's drought tolerant what's established. It's not yet established. So it needs all the nutrients, all the water that it can get until the roots really grow into the neighboring soil. So what I'm doing is I'm filling the hole with water, and I'm adding my biotone starter fertilizer, which I do pretty much all the time. Now, filling the hole with water is great for a couple things. One, It tells you whether you have really quick draining soil or whether you have a moisture retention problem, depending on how quickly the water is going to drain. Depending on the size of this hole should drain in about an hour or so. If it takes longer to drain, you know you have a moisture retention problem. If it takes a lot faster to drain, you know that the soil isn't holding on to any moisture. Now what you can do is you should always be adding compost into the soil to help with that. But again, I know that this is planted near a very large tree that requires a lot of water in general and pulls a lot of water from the soil. So I need to be mindful to keep this watered as it's getting established. So I'm either going to add drip irrigation right at the root zone, or I'm going to add one of those water gators, which are basically just a donut that goes around the base of the tree that you fill with water, and the soil slowly pulls the water as it needs it. More than likely though, I'm probably just going to add a drip zone. And here's where I have popped the final two of the bunch right over here. And right back over there. All right, so there we have it, a few different ways of adding some more formal structure into our free-flowing beds with some inspiration from our friends across the pond over in the UK. Let me know what you guys are adding into your garden beds and how you guys are changing yours up. I hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll see you in the garden.